Here's a look at a recap of your markets on this Thursday, the 17th day of July. Starting to see a few gates swing in feedlot country, albeit it's still pretty slow and movement has been limited. Cattle auction movement through the sale barns, limited as well. Of course, we are later in the week, so not as many auctions scheduled, but the heat sure had an effect this week and has kept receipts to a minimum. Before we get into looking at those auction markets, the weekly drought monitor was released this morning. As of this week, we saw just slight improvement. 90.65% of the state currently not listed anywhere on the drought monitor now, drought-free. 9.35% listed as DO status. A pretty good chunk of that is around the Kansas City area there. And given the extremely heavy rains that they saw the last day or day and a half, we probably likely had a little bit of improvement there. If you remember on Monday, we talked about the crop progress condition, pasture conditions. Missouri currently setting at crop conditions of the pasture conditions of 92% good to excellent rating. Now, don't come at me in the comments. I'll be the first to admit that I don't know a whole lot about agriculture in the far northeast. It's a long ways from Missouri to Bangor, Maine. But Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire are the only states in the 48 states that have better pasture ratings than Missouri currently. Given that they only have about a tenth the number of cattle, if you combine all three of those states together, I'm guessing we're really in better shape than they are. Of course, the cattle market is a big market, and we have to be careful of not getting caught up in just the way things look off our back porch. If you look around the states around us, we're significantly better shape than the surrounding states, especially those with a lot of cattle. Oklahoma currently only 63% good to excellent. Texas setting at 60%, Kansas at 59%, Arkansas at 61%. So we are awful blessed this year with those great pasture conditions. Taking a look at the feedlot trade, this happened so far this week as of the 2 o'clock cutoff time. 12,823 heads, so not a lot of movement yet. In Texas, we just had that part of load early in the week. Kansas seen 2,288 head. Earlier week sales at 230. Stuff reported today at 230 to 231. A few dress sales headed to the north at 380. Iowa's report about 3,351 head so far this week. Of course, as we mentioned in the earlier reports early this week, prices were pretty erratic, just all over the board. 2,500 head or so that trade today. They were anywhere from 235 to mostly 240 live. The dress sales mostly all at 380. Nebraska, they're at 5,328 head. Live sales today, 240 to 242. Some dress sales from 376 to mostly 380. So if those numbers through those regions hold, the market's sure enough going to be steady to firm this week. Box beef cutout values, choice at $373.28, up 43 cents for the day. Select at $353.84. It's down $4.07 for the day. The Choice Select spread setting at $19.44. Volume's been pretty good about every day this week. Today's volume at 139 loads. At the auction barns around the state today, of course, it was an off-scheduled week for New Cambria. Mocan Livestock Market in Butler, they had a very light run. Just a few over 300 head were expected today. Mid-Missouri Stockyards in Phillipsburg, they're going to have just slightly over 800 head. Looks like they're pretty close to wrapping up by the recording of this report. The steers down there today, medium and large ones, a few 4 to 5 weights, 438 to 443, some 5 to 6 weights at 382.5 to 406, some 6 to 7 weight steers at 367.5 to 395, a few 7 to 750 pound steers at 338 to 347. The feeder heifers, a few 4 to 5 weights, 391 to 403, some 5 to 6 weights at 345 to 396, some 6 to 650 pounds, 338 to 361, a few 7 to 725 pound heifers at 310 to 319. Taking a look at the closing futures markets on the livestock side. August live cattle down 22 cents at 223.67. October at 220.32 down 42. December 220.50 down 52. Feeder cattle for August 325 even, that's down 57 cents for the day. September at 325.42 down 42. October 323.67 down 30. Lean hogs for August 105.82 up $1.40. October was up $1.90 at 90.60, and December 82.32 up 87. Turning our attention to the grain markets at the elevators around the state on Thursday, soybeans were 5 to 8 cents higher, wheat 5 to 12 lower, and corn was mixed 6 lower to 1 higher. Corn bids at the elevators in St. Louis 436, Kansas City at 427. Soybean bids St. Louis 1056, Kansas City 1031 to 1046. Wheat bids in St. Louis 505 to 508, Kansas City at 528. On the Board of Trade, corn for September down 3 1/4, 402. December 421 down 3, and March at 438 1/4, down 2 3/4. Soybeans for August 1021 1/2, up 8. September at 1012, up 6 1/4. November at 1026 1/2, up 6. Wheat contracts, September 533 1/2, down 7 3/4. December 554 1/4, down 7 1/2. March at 572 1/2, down 7 1/4. Soybean meal for August 268.70 a ton, that's up 30 cents for the day. Soybean oil for August 56.22 a hundredweight, up $1.40. With the Missouri Department of Agriculture, that's a recap of your markets for Thursday. This is Tony Hancock.